The first time Ethan Blackwood cheated, he dragged his mistress before me, his eyes red with tears, and told me I could do with her as I pleased. I loved him to my very core, so I chose to forgive what he called an accidental mistake. The second time he cheated, I had the woman sent abroad and ordered her never to return. On the night of our engagement party, Ethan Blackwood grabbed me by the throat, pressing a dagger firmly against my stomach. His eyes were bloodshot as he demanded, "Where is Linda? Did you know she's pregnant?" He continued, "I'm the one who couldn't control himself. If you're going to be angry with me. Linda is just a young woman. She doesn't deserve this. I'm begging you, just let the child be born safely, and I swear I'll never see her again. You've always been afraid of the pain of childbirth, haven't you? Can't we just have this one child, the one in Linda's belly? Don't worry, the child will only ever know you as its mother. That's my promise to you." The tip of the blade broke my skin, and blood began to well up. I smiled at him and told him where he could find Linda. The door slammed shut. Trembling, I pulled out my phone and dialed the number. "You were right about him," I said. "Can you still help me?" On the other end, the man cursed under his breath, his voice laced with frustration. "Why didn't you say something sooner? I'm already out of the country. What am I supposed to do for you now?" "Sonny, I'm not trying to be harsh, but you're brilliant, yet you've managed to fall for the same guy twice. Did you trade all your emotional intelligence for that high IQ?" I pressed down hard on the cut on my stomach, my voice growing bitter. "I am sorry. I'll owe you for this. How about a 30% cut on our next joint venture? Is that enough?" He perked up immediately, his interest peaked. "Send me the time and place. I guarantee I'll be there." He added, "And remember me for the next time you need this kind of partnership. My services are reliable." I sent the entire wedding plan over to Leo Harrison. He quickly replied with an okay emoji. The dream house we had prepared was now a wreck, smashed and broken by Ethan, a perfect reflection of my heart. After cleaning my wound by myself, I stumbled out of the villa. I had just finished checking into a hotel when Ethan's call came through. The roar of a jet engine was loud in the background, but I could still clearly hear the suppressed rage in his voice. "Sonny, I'm on a flight out of the country right now. I can't be with you tonight, so please get some rest." "I'm sorry. I was just too emotional earlier. I never meant to hurt you." "Is it serious? I can have my private doctor come over right now." "You don't have to." I cut him off coldly. Ethan's tone immediately darkened. "Sonny, haven't I already told you? What happened with Linda was an accident. I was drugged, and I thought she was you. Now that it's happened, I have to find her. Am I supposed to let a Blackwood heir be born in another country?" he argued. "You forgave me once before. Why are you being so difficult this time? Our wedding is in a week. You need to calm down and think clearly tonight." Staring at my chat history with Leo on the screen, I said coldly, "There's no need. I'm not going to marry you." I added, "Ethan, I've told you before, I don't tolerate betrayal." I was about to hang up when his anger erupted. "Not marrying me? Are you kidding? The engagement party is over. The whole world knows the Blackwoods and the Scotts are merging. You're telling me this now? Are you trying to threaten me with our family's alliance?" "Sonny, we grew up together. You know me better than anyone. If I hadn't been set up, I would never have betrayed you," he pleaded. "They say third time's the charm, but I've only made 2 mistakes. Once the baby is born, I promise Linda will disappear from your life forever. Can't that be enough?" A tear slid down my cheek, and a bitter smile touched my lips. "And then what? You expect me to look at the child you had with another woman every single day? To have a constant reminder of your betrayal?" I said, "Ethan, I can't do that. I am sorry." As soon as I finished, he roared back through the phone, "Fine. You remember what you just said, and don't you dare regret it." He continued, "Every guy from a family like ours has someone on the side. I already let you deal with Linda. I've done everything I could. If you can accept it, we get married. If you can't, then get lost. I don't care what you do anymore." The call ended. The floor-to-ceiling window reflected my miserable silhouette. Suite 13520. It used to be his favorite spot for our dates. He said this place was filled with memories of our love for each other. Valentine's Day, birthdays, anniversaries. This room had practically become our own private world. But now, I was the only one left remembering. Ethan must have told my parents the wedding was off, because they called me immediately. "Sonny, what's going on?" Ethan just told us you want to break the engagement, my mother asked. This isn't a game. You can't just act on a whim, my father added. I buried myself deeper under the covers. My voice choked with emotion. His mistress is pregnant, I managed to say. My father started. What man doesn't make a mistake? Just have her get rid of it. I'm not calling off the wedding, I interrupted. I'm just marrying someone else. It's someone you know, Leo Harrison. My father's advice died in his throat. My mother was so shocked, she was momentarily speechless. Leo Harrison? But aren't you two frenemies? Have you forgotten he nearly set your hair on fire when you were kids? I forced a laugh, trying to sound cheerful. That's why I want to marry him, I said. To make his life miserable forever. I tossed and turned all night, the pain from the cut on my stomach keeping me awake. As soon as the sun rose, I contacted a realtor to sell the house. When I returned to pack my things, I saw Ethan's private jet still parked on the lawn. I pushed open the door, and my eyes fell upon a wall covered in cozy photographs. Only, the woman in the pictures wasn't me. It was Linda. The glaciers of Iceland, the Eiffel Tower, the fire-damaged Notre Dame. He had taken Linda to all the places we had once visited together. He always used to say how much he hated having his picture taken. As a man in his position, he said, you never knew what reporters or rivals might do with a photograph. No matter how much I begged or promised to keep them private, we never took a single picture together. But now, it seemed Linda was his one exception. The two of them stood before the photo wall. Linda rested a hand on her barely noticeable stomach, a sweet smile on her face. Ethan, after the baby is born, can we bring him to all these places? She asked. I'm sure he'll love them. Here, feel, he's kicking me. The sound of the door opening drew their attention. They turned and saw me standing there. Instantly, Linda dropped to her knees in front of me, clutching at my waist and begging for forgiveness. Sonny, it's all my fault. I broke my promise to stay away. Please don't be angry with me, she cried. I just love Ethan so much. I swear, I'll leave as soon as the baby is born. I won't get in your way. Before I could say a word, Ethan let out a cold laugh. You don't need to apologize to her. You only met me because you were drugged. If anything, I'm the one who owes you. He then raised his eyes to meet mine. Sonny, I've already found out who was behind the drugging. Their company will be bankrupt within a month, he said. Linda is innocent in this too. She was a victim. You shouldn't blame her. I'm willing to let this whole thing go. Just apologize to her, and we can move on. I stared back at him, my gaze completely devoid of emotion. It was laughable. Me apologize? I asked, Ethan, have you lost your mind? In the next instant, Linda's hands, still clutching my waist, suddenly squeezed, pressing directly into my wound. I sucked in a sharp breath as pain shot through me, a cold sweat breaking out across my skin. I quickly pushed her away. I barely used any force, but Linda stumbled backward and fell against a cabinet. What are you doing? Ethan shouted, shoving me violently. My forehead slammed into the doorframe, and I felt the warm trickle of blood. I think you're the one who's gone crazy, he yelled. Linda already humbled herself before you, and I've explained everything. What more do you want? He demanded. Apologize, or you'll see what happens. I gritted my teeth, swallowing the bitter injustice, and said through clenched teeth, never. Make me apologize to your mistress? Ethan, you must be dreaming. I spat. You just don't know what's good for you. His eyes were blazing with fury as he scooped Linda into his arms and carried her into the bedroom. When he came out, he summoned all the household staff. Where are the chains? Bring them out, he commanded. My fiancée has lost her mind. Make her kneel on the grounds outside until she comes to her senses. No one is to let her up without my permission. My vision swam with red as I stared at him in disbelief. Ethan, you're insane. She's just the other woman. How dare you treat me like this? I screamed. This is my house. I bought it, but I'm the man of the house, he replied, giving me one last, cold glance before turning away. The staff quickly dragged me out the door, the blood from my forehead leaving a long streak on the floor. The moment the front gate clicked shut, a loud clap of thunder echoed from the clear sky. A torrential downpour followed, instantly soaking me to the bone. I knelt there in the rain, the wounds on my forehead and stomach beginning to burn with fever. My vision started to blur. I looked at the staff member assigned to watch me, my voice barely a whisper. Let me go. Please, get Ethan for me. I'm begging you. The woman shot me a look as if I were a stage performer, standing comfortably under the eaves with a smirk. Save your breath. I've seen your little pity act 100 times, she sneered. Mr. Blackwood just called his private doctor. He's busy taking care of Miss Linda's injuries right now. I forced my eyes open and looked up toward the second-floor balcony, where I could just make out two figures. A moment later, everything went black, and I collapsed. As I drifted into unconsciousness, I heard the staffer's panicked cry. This is bad. Miss Scott has passed out. There's blood on the ground. Get the doctor over here. Familiar footsteps approached, and an umbrella opened above my head. Ethan's voice was like ice. Are you done with your performance? Anyone who didn't know better would think you were the one who's pregnant, he said. Sonny, it's time that temper of yours was brought under control. I'm only doing this for your own good. His footsteps faded as he walked away. I saw him and Linda embracing under the shelter of the porch, both looking out at me. Linda nestled weakly into his arms, her voice full of feigned concern. Ethan, I don't think Sonny is pretending. Aren't we being too cruel to her? She's your fiancée. After all, if the Scotts find out about this. Ethan's expression hardened. I've built my own success for years. I don't have to answer to the Scott family for anything, he said coldly. She started this with her unreasonable behavior. You have 8 months until the baby is due, and I won't have her bullying you that whole time. Her temper needs to be corrected. A flicker of triumph flashed in Linda's eyes before she quickly masked it with an innocent look. I've heard that marriages between powerful families are always loveless. Is it like that with you and Sonny? The relentless rain beat down, washing over my pale face. For a second, I thought my heart had stopped beating. Then, I heard Ethan's emotionless voice drift over to me. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Being born a Blackwood, this alliance is a duty I can't escape. Since I don't have a choice in the matter, I have to accept it. Sonny is beautiful and uncomplicated. Compared to the other arrogant heiresses out there, she was the best option. A tear escaped the corner of my eye, mixing with the mud on the ground. Ethan then looked at Linda with adoration. His eyes finally filled with genuine emotion. I thought I was destined to live my whole life like that, he said to her. But your arrival was a gift from heaven. Thank you, Linda. Each word was a dagger twisting in my heart. I couldn't tell what hurt more, my body or my soul. The memories of our childhood together began to fade. What I had believed to be a pure, deep-rooted love was nothing but a lie. How ridiculous. For 20 years, my only dream was to be his wife, to help him succeed, to support his rise to the top. The boy who made me a crown from willow branches was now just a ghost, lost to memory. The last thread of my strength snapped, and I felt a fresh surge of blood from my stomach wound. Ethan finally sensed something was seriously wrong. He roared at the staff member. What are you waiting for? Go check on her. If anything happens to her, you're all fired. As I faded in and out of consciousness, I felt someone shaking me. Then, I was lifted into a warm embrace. The familiar scent of pine took me back to a time when it was just the two of us. But when I opened my eyes, I was in one of the guest rooms. Ethan was sitting on the edge of the bed, his face a mask of cold fury. Why didn't you tell me you were hurt? He demanded. Sonny, do you have to be so stubborn? When are you going to learn to control that temper? I ignored him and looked around the room. It was small and cluttered, worse than the staff quarters. It was obvious who was now occupying what used to be my master bedroom. A cold sneer formed on my lips, and I didn't even glance at him. My temper has nothing to do with you anymore. The only person you should be worried about right now is Linda, I said. I pushed myself up and ripped the fresh bandage from my stomach. And let me remind you, I bought this house. I want your mistress out of it as soon as possible. My indifference finally pushed him over the edge. He shot to his feet, roaring, That's enough. Can't you tolerate anyone? I had Linda move in so you two could look after each other, not so you could throw these childish tantrums. Forget it. There are still 8 months until Linda is due. Use that time to calm down. When my child is born, I don't want his mother to be a lunatic. With that, Ethan turned and left without a backward glance. I lifted the blanket and saw that the scrapes on my knees had been cleaned and bandaged by the doctor. I couldn't help but laugh coldly. He was the cause of all this, and now he wanted to play the hero? The sounds of laughter continued from downstairs. I took out my phone and lowered the asking price for the villa again. I couldn't stand to be in this painful place for another second. That evening, the staff prepared a large dinner. The table was filled mostly with shellfish, which Ethan is allergic to. I stood on the second-floor landing, looking down, and remembered all the times he'd refused to compromise for me when we ordered at restaurants. The difference between being loved and not being loved was so painfully clear. I went back to master bedroom and found that all of my belongings had already been thrown out. It saved me the trouble of packing, at least. I booked a car on my phone and was about to walk out. Just then, Linda appeared in the doorway, holding a tray of food. She smiled sweetly. "Sonny, what are you doing here? Did you come to take one last look at your old room?" "I'm so sorry, but Ethan said the mother-to-be gets top priority, so he gave it to me. If you're looking for any of your trash, you should probably check the dumpsters. There's none of it left in here." The trash. She was referring to were the gifts Ethan had given me over the years. A cold smile played on my lips as I met her gaze. "Linda, just because you treasure something doesn't mean I do," I said. "You can have the house. You can have the man. But remember this, the way you get something is the way you'll lose it. You weren't his first, and you certainly won't be his last." Linda's face hardened, and she threw the tray to the floor, shattering the dishes. "Stop putting on an act. You're just used goods, all talk and nothing else," she shrieked. "I don't need you to let me have him. Ethan would choose me anyway. If you don't believe me, just watch." With that, she let out a piercing scream and tore at her own hair. She ran toward the balcony and threw herself over the railing. She clung on with one arm, her body dangling as the cold night wind whipped around her. Her cries grew more and more pathetic. "Sonny, why are you doing this to me?" she wailed. Before I could even process what was happening, Ethan kicked the door open. He rushed to the balcony, pulled her back over the railing, and held her tightly in his protective embrace. He turned back to me and slapped me hard across the face. "Sonny, is this never going to end?" he snarled. Linda, still cowering in his arms, clutched her stomach, her voice a faint whisper. "Sonny, I've already apologized. Why can't you just leave me alone?" she whimpered. "The baby is innocent. After it's born, I'm willing to die to make it up to you. Please, just spare the Blackwood heir." I furrowed my brow, about to speak, but Ethan cut me off with a cold command. "Sonny, get on your knees." I stared at him, incredulous. "You think I did this?" After gently placing Linda on the bed, Ethan advanced on me, his eyes filled with malice. "Why shouldn't I suspect you? First, you sent her out of the country. Then you deliberately pushed her. This is the third time you've gone after her," he accused. "Sonny, give me one reason why I should believe you." In that moment, any love I had left for him evaporated. Without giving me a chance to explain, Ethan carried Linda and hurried out of the villa. I took down every single photo from the wall, cut them into pieces, and burned them. At midnight, I got a message from the realtor. "Miss Scott, I have a buyer willing to pay the full asking price. No discount needed. When would you be available to sign the papers?" I replied, "Tomorrow." I fired the entire household staff. A full week passed, and Ethan never showed up. Every now and then, paparazzi photos of him would appear online, taken by people at the hospital. He was either seen at the OB/GYN clinic or picking up prescriptions for Linda at the pharmacy. On the morning of our wedding day, Ethan arrived at the villa in the decorated car to pick me up. When the door opened, he was met by the face of a stranger. His brow furrowed instantly. "Where's Sonny? Who are you people?" His assistant came running up behind him, panting for breath. "Mr. Blackwood, there's been a mistake. Miss Scott already sold the house. She's marrying into the Harrison family today." As the words sank in, the color drained from Ethan's face. "How was that possible?" he whispered. He stumbled back a few steps, his eyes scanning the exterior of the house. There were no decorations, not a single ribbon or flower to mark a wedding. His assistant's words echoed in his ears. Ethan swayed on his feet, struggling to stay upright. Snapping out of his shock, he lunged at his assistant, grabbing him by the collar. His voice was a furious, uncontrolled snarl. "What did you just say? Sonny is marrying a Harrison? Has she lost her mind? The Harrisons are my rivals. Everyone in New York society knows that," he raged. "This has to be Sonny's way of getting back at me. It's fake news she leaked to the press. What are you waiting for? Go find out what's going on." The ceremony is about to start. If you can't find her, you're fired." The assistant, terrified by his outburst, didn't dare say another word and quickly turned to leave. Just before he left, he thoughtfully forwarded a video to Ethan. It showed the venue for the Harrison and Scott wedding. But Ethan was too busy confronting the new owner, convinced he was just an actor Sonny had hired. Taking a deep breath, Ethan ignored the man's protests and stormed into the house. The renovations the two of them had planned together had been completely stripped away. There wasn't a single trace of their life there left. The wall of photos was gone, as if it had never existed. The homeowner panicked, shouting after him, "Who are you? I bought this house a week ago. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police." But Ethan seemed deaf to his words, frantically searching every corner of the villa like a madman. The rooms had been completely redecorated. He couldn't find a single trace that Sonny had ever been there. After he had torn through every last corner, Ethan finally collapsed, all strength gone from his body. He sat down on the floor, a wreck of a man. "How could this have happened?" he whispered. "Sonny, you really haven't forgiven me, have you?" A call came in from the wedding venue, a planner asking when the bride would be arriving. Ethan said nothing, simply ending the call. He opened their iMessage chat, which he hadn't looked at in a week. His hands trembled as he tried to type. He couldn't believe Sonny would actually go through with this. She had always said that marrying him was her greatest dream. He had spent the entire week at the hospital with Linda. Linda had told him it was normal for women to get emotional, and that Sonny just needed a few days to cool off. He had listened to her, deciding to give Sonny the silent treatment. He never imagined that in just 7 days of no contact, he would lose any chance to even talk to her. "Where are you?" he typed. "Sonny, I'm here to get you. Why did you sell the house? Why didn't you tell me? Please, can I call you? Don't do this. I can explain everything. My feelings for you have never changed." Tears blurred his vision. He had never felt a panic like this in his entire life. He sent 3 messages in a row, each one carrying all of his desperate hope. He wiped the tears from his eyes, only to see the 3 red exclamation points that appeared in response. Sonny had blocked him. For an instant, his heart seemed to stop. Every breath was a sharp pain that racked his entire body. In disbelief, he tried calling her number over and over. The name Sonny would light up on his screen, only to fade again. Over and over. He lost count of how many times he called. A broken smile twisted his lips as tears streamed down his face. His vacant gaze drifted to the lawn outside, the one they had worked on together just a month before. They had planned to plant her favorite blue roses there. But now, the grass was crushed and lifeless beneath the wheels of his private jet, just like his heart. The new homeowner, seeing that he had finally calmed down, cautiously approached and offered him a glass of water. "Were you looking for the previous owner? She sold the house to me a week ago. I heard she found a much nicer place for her wedding. In fact, today is the day," the man said gently. "You don't need to come back here. Why don't you rest for a moment and then be on your way?" Something in the man's words must have triggered him. Ethan shot to his feet and punched the homeowner square in the face. "Get out," he screamed. "You have no right to speak to me. This is my and Sonny's house. Whatever you paid for it, I'll give you 10 times that amount. Now get out, and don't ever let me see you here again without my permission." The homeowner fell to the ground, clutching his bleeding nose and crying out in pain. Ethan ignored him, simply calling his security team to have the man and his family removed. Soon he was alone in the vast, empty house. The words of his assistant and the new owner echoed in his mind. With trembling hands, Ethan pulled out his phone and tried to search online for news about a Scott family wedding. But then he noticed the message his assistant had sent. He tapped on the video. The first thing he saw was a massive wedding portrait. It was Leo Harrison holding Sonny tightly in his arms. Behind them stretched an endless ocean and a brilliant blue sky. The image was a physical pain in his eyes. Ethan raised his hand to smash the phone against the wall, but he stopped himself halfway. Remembering his relationship with Sonny's parents, he made the call, his tone pleading. That was it. Sonny's parents had always adored him. They only ever wanted him as their son-in-law. As long as they would forgive him, he and Sonny still had a chance. The call connected. Not caring that they couldn't see him, Ethan dropped to his knees. "Mr. and Mrs. Scott," he began, his voice breaking. "Where is Sonny? We were supposed to get married today. Why is this happening? He choked out. Where is she? I have to see her. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, he heard the sound of a wedding march through the phone. Each note of the symphony was a hammer blow to his chest. Ethan felt himself breaking. He slammed his forehead against the floor. Mr. and Mrs. Scott, I know I was wrong. Please, I'm begging you. Just give me one more chance, he pleaded. I promise I'll take care of her. Sonny told me she would only ever marry me. Can you really stand by and watch her marry a man she doesn't love? Blood from his forehead blurred his vision. Sonny's parents finally seemed to soften. Ethan, it's not that we won't help you, her father said. But we have to ask you one thing. Is it true that you have another woman and that you got her pregnant? The line went silent. Ethan's voice was a raw whisper, each word in agony to speak. Yes, but it wasn't on purpose. Sonny's father pressed on. And do you love Sonny, or was this all just about the family alliance and the business merger? Yes or no? Her father's question was relentless, tearing away the last shreds of his pride. Guilt and pain washed over him. He replayed the question in his mind again and again, but he couldn't bring himself to deny it. For years, he had refused to admit his feelings for Sonny. He felt that to love her would be a weakness, something that would tarnish his image as the powerful heir to the Blackwood fortune. All his hard work, all his achievements at the company would somehow seem less pure. He wasn't blind to how special Sonny was to him. The moment he realized the depth of his hidden feelings, he had deliberately gotten drunk and walked right into a rival's trap. That was the first time he had cheated and confessed to Sonny. It was a test, a way to inoculate himself against his own feelings. And just as he'd expected, Sonny forgave him. But the fire in her eyes when she looked at him was gone. Back then, he had been tormented, torn between admitting his love and pushing her away. His friends noticed his strange behavior and mocked him. The great Ethan Blackwood, heir to the fortune, is completely lovesick. Their words became a poison that festered in his heart. His father's voice echoed in his memory from childhood. A Blackwood heir cannot be a coward, and he certainly cannot be ruled by emotion. There is no room for sentiment in business. Your weakness will only become your enemy's weapon. In the end, Ethan had chosen to follow his father's path. Getting Linda pregnant was the first step in severing his own heart. But now he regretted it all. No, he whispered into the phone. He slowly breathed out the single word. All the strength seemed to drain from his body, leaving only defeat and despair. He had failed to live up to his father's expectations. Perhaps he could never be as ruthless and decisive as his father. At this moment, all he wanted was Sonny. As he spoke his answer, a great weight lifted from his shoulders. He waited for her father's final verdict. Mr. Scott seemed surprised by his answer and was silent for a moment. Finally, he let out a long sigh. I can send you the address, he said, but you must promise me that whatever Sonny decides, you will respect her choice. I just don't want my daughter to live with any regrets. Ethan's despair vanished, replaced by a surge of hope. Ethan shot to his feet, kicking aside a pile of cigarette butts on the floor. Okay, he said, his voice filled with newfound confidence. I know she'll choose me. Thank you, Mr. Scott. He was dizzy with excitement and relief. Ethan looked out at the ruined lawn, but now he saw it with a heart full of hope. It was just a patch of grass. Whatever Sonny wanted, he would plant for her. If she didn't want children, he would take Linda for an abortion and get a vasectomy himself. If she did want children, he would sign over all of his assets to her and their future family, giving them complete security. The sky, which had been overcast for so long, suddenly cleared. The darkness in Ethan's heart seemed to lift with it. If only he had been honest with himself sooner, perhaps he and Sonny would never have had to go through all this. A moment later, Mr. Scott sent him the address of the hotel. It was a Harrison family property. The smile froze on Ethan's face. Before he could get back into the car, a call came through from Linda. Ethan, when is your ceremony going to be over? I'm waiting for you at my doctor's appointment. Okay, she asked in her usual sweet, cloying tone. You promised you'd be here with me. But this time, Ethan didn't give her the response she was expecting. I'll have my assistant go with you. Don't bother me today, he said curtly. He was about to hang up, but Linda started sobbing hysterically. Ethan, what's wrong? Is Sonny angry with me again? She cried. It's all my fault. I can go to the wedding and kneel and beg for her forgiveness. I'll get a cab right now. If I'd known this would happen, I never would have called for you when she pushed me. If I had just fallen, maybe she would have felt better. No, I should have never come back at all. I should have listened to her and stayed away, she rambled. I'm the one who made you two fight. I ruined your relationship. Her words brought the memory of that day flooding back, and Ethan's eyes blazed with fury. He had been a fool to believe Linda's lies, to believe that Sonny could ever be so cruel. That's enough, he roared. You know exactly how you ended up over that railing. Sonny is not that kind of person. She would never lay a hand on you, he yelled. If she wanted you gone, do you really think you'd still be here? You're unbelievably naive. She had a million opportunities to get rid of you on your way out of the country. Linda, this is your last warning. Stay out of this, or you won't like the consequences. Before she could reply, he hung up. A moment later, his assistant sent him a location pin. It was the same address Mr. Scott had sent. Thinking about Linda's manipulations, Ethan sent a message to his assistant. Go to the hospital. Take care of Linda. Make sure she doesn't say anything else she shouldn't. He got in his car and sped toward the hotel. While stopped at a red light, he watched a pair of high school students cross the street. The boy had taken off his jacket and was holding it over the girl's head to shield her from the sun. I'm going to have to copy your homework again, the girl said. You can't tell the teacher, or I won't bring you any more cupcakes. I want chocolate, or the deal's off, the boy replied. The girl's playful arrogance was exactly like Sonny's used to be. Back then, she and Leo Harrison were always at each other's throats. Leo was constantly looking for ways to get her in trouble, either telling on her for eating snacks in class or for skipping laps in gym. And every single time, Ethan was the one who stepped in to save her. Sonny would stand before him, her chin held high in defiance. You're the one who chose to help me, she'd say. So you're not allowed to tell my parents about this. Ethan would just nod and press her favorite pastry in her hand. Your wish is my command, he'd reply. The memories he thought he had long forgotten came rushing back, clearer than ever. He hadn't had much an allowance back then. He had to work a part-time job to earn the money to buy her snacks. When his father found out, he had punished him severely. He had been beaten so badly he could hardly walk. Sonny had broken a branch off a tree and handed it to him, mimicking his limp. Here you go, old man Ethan, she'd said. Don't forget your cane. Her exaggerated performance had made him burst out laughing. He had collapsed on the ground, but the pain in his leg was gone. The traffic light turned green, and a smile touched Ethan's lips. He and Sonny shared too much history. There was no way he could lose her. The Maybach flew down the streets. He burst into the hotel just a second before the ceremony was due to begin. Every head in the room turned to look at him. The Harrison family guests didn't recognize him, but the Scotts knew him all too well. Their faces immediately twisted with contempt. One of Sonny's uncles angrily berated a staff member. What is security doing? How did you let this piece of trash in here? Do you want to lose your job? Get him out of here now. A two-timing scumbag like him has no place at Sonny's wedding, the man continued. He was one of Sonny's closest relatives. Ethan didn't dare argue, and could only offer a string of apologies. Mr. Scott saw him and sighed. You came after all. When Ethan found me, I was backstage, taking a final moment to prepare myself. The curtain was suddenly thrown aside, revealing his familiar face. His eyes were red, and he looked at me with an almost holy reverence. Sonny, he said, it's me. I'm here. I gave him a cool glance, cursing him under my breath. The guests are all seated out front. Please get out of my way. I tried to close the curtain, but he grabbed my hand, his voice trembling. I'm here to take you home, he said. Today is our wedding day. Have you forgotten? If you've forgotten, then why are you still wearing the bracelet I gave you? Sonny, I know I made a mistake. I came here to explain everything. Before he could finish, Leo pulled me back, wrapping a protective arm around me. Mr. Blackwood, what an honor. Forgive us for not rolling out the red carpet. Our guests are waiting outside. You're frightening my bride, Leo said smoothly. Oh, and were you talking about this bracelet? He lifted my wrist, showing it off. The one you bought her was a replica. This one is the genuine article from Sotheby's. I believe my wife's jewelry should be selected by me. Don't you agree? Now, Mr. Blackwood, please leave. Ethan's face went rigid, his voice dropping to a freezing tone. Sunny is my bride. She's my bride now. Leo shot back, refusing to yield. The two men stood facing off backstage. The orchestra began to play. I gave Ethan a firm shove out of the way. Don't waste your breath on him, Leo. It's time. Leo grinned. You're brilliant, my dear. I'm truly in awe. Ignoring Leo's smug look, I peeked through a crack in the curtain. I could see Ethan being restrained by security in the front row. I had thought that breaking things off with him for good would destroy me. But now that the moment was here, I realized it wasn't so hard after all. What I had mistaken for love was nothing more than years of habit. Our relationship had died the first time he betrayed me. Linda's pregnancy was just the funeral. As the music swelled, I could feel his piercing gaze on me, growing more intense by the second. Ethan just stood there in the audience, watching. He watched as my father placed my hand in another man's. His expression shifted from uncontrolled rage to a quiet, empty stillness. The light in his eyes seemed to fade, as if extinguished forever. After the ceremony, security finally let Ethan go. He cornered me at the end of a hallway, advancing on me as I backed away. What do you want from me? I demanded. I want you to marry me. I want you to be with me, he said, his eyes bloodshot and filled with a dangerous, obsessive light. I held my hands up to keep a space between us. Enough, Ethan. We're finished. Don't you understand? It's over. The next moment, Ethan began slapping himself across the face again and again. The sharp, cracking sound echoed in the hallway. He didn't stop until his cheeks were swollen and red, on the verge of bleeding. I know I was wrong, Sonny, he pleaded. Please, just give me one more chance to earn your forgiveness. You only married Leo to get back at me, right? You don't even like him. So why are you putting yourself through this? He begged. I've already taken care of Linda's baby. There will never be anything between us again. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. Just give me a chance to make it up to you. I swear I will never look at another woman. You will be my only wife. I shoved him, and he stumbled and fell to the floor. And I laughed, a dry, painful sound that made my eyes ache. Ethan, who do you think you are? You cheat, and I'm supposed to forgive you. You get another woman pregnant, and I'm supposed to raise your illegitimate child. Now I'm married, and you want me to call it off. You really think you're far too important. I did love you, but that's in the past. From the moment you pressed that knife to my stomach, from the moment you turned on me for Linda's sake, from the moment you forced me to my knees, every last bit of feeling I had for you vanished. I said, I'm happy now. I hope you and Linda can be happy too. He screamed, his voice raw with desperation. No, that's not it. I never loved Linda. The only one I've ever loved is you. I was just afraid people would look down on me, say I was just some loser who married into success. I cut him off coldly before he could finish. I don't care about your excuses, and I care even less about your child. I said, Ethan, I know how to love, and I know how to lose. Please just stay out of my life. With that, I turned my back on him and walked away without waiting for a response. In the distance, Leo was waiting for me with a bouquet of flowers, a smile on his face as he placed them in my hands.